Hey there, everybody! Guys, it's a great time to be a Spider-Man fan. With various movies, video games, and even TV shows coming out, it has never been a better moment to enjoy Peter Parker or any of the other various Spider characters out there. And now that the third and final film in the Tom Holland trilogy is coming out there's 3 more? 3 of them after this one? What's gonna happen in them? Now that the third film in the Tom Holland sexology is coming out, some questions have started to be asked. See, Alfred Molina's Doc Ock, as well as Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, on top of the Lizard, Jamie Foxx's Electro, and even Sandman, are back for No Way Home, indicating that the movies we've been watching for almost 2 decades now are much more interconnected than ever previously thought. And with the introduction of multiverses and parallel dimensions, there's gonna be some confusion. Not everybody is gonna pick up on everything right away. Somebody's gotta go in there and sort through all the mess and figure out definitively what's connected to what. And as the NSYNC song goes, it's gonna be May. Today, I'm gonna be mapping out every connection that the Sony Spider-Man universe has, from the Tobey Maguire originals to movies that aren't even out yet, no matter how long it takes me. This is gonna be a lot, by the way, so strap in. So to connect all of these different movies and universes, we're gonna be using something called a modified concept map. Concept maps are usually used as like a form of like mind mapping, but I'm gonna be using it because 1, it illustrates the points I'm trying to get across the best, and 2, because it kind of looks like a web. All of the different movies and universes and media that we're gonna be talking about is gonna be in these little circles right here. 1 circle means 1 movie or TV show or video game or whatever it is. We're gonna be using 4 different lines to connect everything. The first one is going to be a black, strong, or official line. Anything that's connected with this line is going to be fully in canon in the same universe. Then we have a red, weak line. This kind of connection is going to be very small, based on very little evidence, or otherwise unofficial or unconfirmed. Then we have a black and blue line and a red and blue line. These mean the same thing as their normal black and red counterparts, but the blue means that it's through an alternate dimension. So black and blue means that they officially take place in an alternate universe to each other, and red and blue means probably. Now, before we really start, we need to set up some ground rules. In theory, all of the things we're gonna talk about could be connected to each other, but just connecting 2 things because they could be connected just isn't enough for me. What's the point of a concept map if every line doesn't have long, drawn-out explanations? So the number 1 rule we're gonna be following here, and pretty much the only rule we're gonna be following, is that every connection we make has to have some kind of official, publicly released, so no deleted scenes, non-fan theory evidence to back it up. Now, with all the boring stuff out of the way, we can start with our first movie, which is actually not going on this map at all, which is Into the Spider-Verse. So as much as I love Into the Spider-Verse, it literally is my favorite Spider-Man movie ever. It creates some difficult things for this map. First of all, we don't have any word if the animated movies and the live action movies share a continuity like Star Wars, because if it doesn't share a continuity, that means that it's just a self-contained animated movie. But if it does, that means that everything theoretically would indeed be connected to everything. And that's a lot of lines. So just for the sake of this video, I'm not gonna be including Spider-Verse on here, and I'm only gonna be covering the live action Sony-produced Spider-Man movies, except for one of them. And that will be it. With that, we can start with our actual first universe, the Tobey timeline. All right, and yeah, before I see people in the comments, yeah, I know it's not a timeline, it's a multiverse, I get it. It sounded cool. The Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies are absolute classics and are also, unsurprisingly, pretty much completely self-contained. They came out at a post-Batman and Robin time where the audience for traditional superhero movies like Superman or Batman or just wasn't really there. This is why during this time you saw a lot of superhero movies that were for more gritty and realistic heroes, like Daredevil, a guy who can see with his ears, and Punisher, whose superpower is murder. Speaking of Punisher, Sam Raimi and some producers of Spider-Man 2 wanted to put Thomas Jane, the actor who played Punisher in the 2004 movie, in this scene where Mary Jane is running through the park in her wedding dress. Unfortunately, due to contracts and some scheduling issues, they just couldn't get him. But they did get his stunt double. This guy right here is fully intended to be the Punisher by the creators of the film, meaning that technically, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies and The Punisher take place in the same universe. I was debating on whether to make this a strong link or a weak link, but considering how this was actually going to be a bigger thing that they just never really acted on, I'm gonna make it a strong link. Come on, why not? We're having fun here. And as shocking and upsetting as this may be, the 2004 Punisher movie will not be reappearing in this video. There was an MTV animated show that aired in 2003 called Spider-Man: The New Animated Series, because whenever you want to make a show based on something that already has an older and more successful show, just put new in the title, no one will know. Tune into ABC to check out my upcoming show, New Lost. The show was set in the original movie's universe and was meant to be canon to that movie, but then it got canceled and retconned by Spider-Man 2, so it's not really counted as canon anymore, but I'll throw in a weak link there. Come on, people worked hard on that show. Also in that show, the X-Men are mentioned. And again, that show was meant to be fully canon to the original movie before it was canceled. So for like a solid year, X-Men and Spider-Man had a shared universe. Or at least the X-Men existed in the Spider-Man universe, but like, it's the early 2000s. What other X-Men are you thinking of? Also, fun fact, in the original Spider-Man movie in 2002, Hugh Jackman was supposed to have a cameo as Wolverine, but they couldn't find the suit, so they just didn't do it. Like, we wouldn't have been able to tell who it was. Hey, that's Spider-Man. I have no idea who you are. All three Tobey Maguire trilogy movies had a video game adaptation to them. I'm not gonna be counting them because they're basically just longer retellings of the same movie story, but with like extra details and stuff. Same for the novelizations. Fun fact, did you know all three Spider-Man movies had novelizations? Apparently the Spider-Man 3 one is pretty good, I should read that. There was also another video game called Spider-Man Friend or Foe that isn't connected to the movies at all, but it does reuse the character designs because that's just what was popular at the time. But it does answer the long-asked question, what if Spider-Man sounded like Johnny Test?
There I was, sitting here thinking, what a peaceful, dull evening. Then, boom! The nut jobs show up.
All jokes aside, James Arnold Taylor is actually a pretty good Spider-Man, and the voice is more like Ratchet, if anything. Love you, James. And that's pretty much it for the Tobey Maguire movies. There is one more thing that I know I have to mention because people are gonna get angry if I don't. It is this line from this clip in Spider-Man 2.
That's crap.
Science Squid?
Crap.
Doctor Strange.
That's pretty good.
I am not taking that as specifically Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange has been to the Raimi universe. I'm taking that more as there is a Doctor Strange in this world. Also, can we talk about this line from that scene?
Mad scientist goes berserk and we don't have pictures.
I heard Spider-Man was there.
Where were you?
Robbie knows Peter's Spider-Man. Full on, like what else could that be? All right, moving on to my little sister's favorite section because of the actor who portrays Peter Parker, the Andrew area. Oh, Claire's gonna love that part. Oh boy. So the Andrew Garfield movies are actually even more self-contained than the Tobey Maguire ones, but for like the complete opposite reasons. The Tobey Maguire movies came out at a time when there was virtually no interest in any new superhero movies, and it did a lot to really rekindle that audience and really paved the way for the MCU. And The Amazing Spider-Man came out in 2012. You wanna know what else came out in 2012? The Avengers. The Amazing Spider-Man came out when we were just now entering the renaissance of superhero movies that we are currently experiencing. So if the licenses were tight before, they were even tighter now that movies were actually being made with them. And because of that, there's pretty much no references to any other Marvel characters outside of ones directly linked to Spider-Man, like Black Cat, for instance. The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 both had their own video game adaptations, much like the 3 films before them, except they're not really adaptations, but more like pseudo-sequels. Both of these games take place after the movie they got their name from. Gwen Stacy does not appear, nor is she mentioned throughout the entirety of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 game. Now, these could theoretically be canon, but I'm not gonna count them. My only piece of real evidence being in the Amazing Spider-Man 1, Rhino appears. Oh no, not that Rhino. Yeah, there he is. The games have like this weird like Star Wars expanded universe thing going on, like pre-Disney acquisition, where like the source material is canon to the thing, but the thing is not canon to the source material. And it makes this like really weird, confusing thought on like what counts technically. So like, do the cross species count in the canon? So like, is the entire thing not canon? Or is it just like the cross species, because if maybe the whole cross species thing is canon except for Rhino? Maybe Paul Giamatti got the idea for Rhino from the cross species Rhino? Weak link. And that's pretty much it with the Garfield movies. They just didn't really have a lot of breathing room to connect it to anything, with the MCU being so hugely popular at the time, and still to this day. They just didn't have the rights, so they've had to start making movies based around Spider-Man, like Venom, or the upcoming Kraven the Hunter movie, or another one that I said I will not talk about. So with that, we can move on to the one that you've no doubt been waiting to get to, the Tom territory. All right. It goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Homecoming and Far From Home, not really anything to talk about. They have no connections to any previously established Spider-Man movies. They are purely just MCU movies. As you can probably tell, No Way Home is what we're going to be talking about for the majority of this section. As of this video coming out, No Way Home has not released in theaters yet. And if you're lucky, you might even get to go see it. But because it's not out yet, we're going to have to infer some things based on trailers and things that people involved in the creation of the movie have said. Also, want to get it out of the way, not going to be talking about leaks. I know there are presumably a ton of them, but I can't differentiate between the real ones and the fake ones, so just for the sake of this video, we're just going to be going off of official information. All right, so Alfred Molina, the actor who plays Doc Ock, has come out and said that he is not just coming back to play Doc Ock again, or the MCU's interpretation of Doc Ock. Him, and presumably Willem Dafoe and Jamie Foxx as well, are indeed the exact same characters from the movies they originally appeared in. This is backed up by them having virtually the exact same designs as they had in those movies, as well as a line from the trailer that also debunks like a popular worry that some people had. Some people were worried that there would indeed be multiple Spider-Men, but it would just be like 2 Tom Hollands in different suits. But in the trailer, Doc Ock looks at Tom Holland's Spider-Man without his suit on and says, "You're not Peter Parker," implying that he has seen a different Spider-Man that does not look like Tom Holland. Which means that we can reasonably assume that the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies and the MCU take place in alternate universes to each other. And I don't care if you don't like either versions of this character, but that's super cool. That's awesome. That's cool as hell. And with Jamie Foxx as Electro and the Lizard also coming back, we can also reasonably assume that the Amazing Spider-Man movies and the MCU take place in an alternate universe as well, meaning that the Amazing Spider-Man and the Tobey Maguire movies would also take place in an alternate universe. This is why I made a map for this, and I'm not just saying this out loud to you. So Electro is a bit of an interesting case because he is the only character coming back that does not have the same design as he did in the movie he originated in. The design used in No Way Home seems to be a far cry from the one used in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Notably, he's less blue. I can easily see them coming up with some kind of excuse where like he didn't really die in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 like they teased in that movie, and he created some kind of technology that gave him more control over his powers, or like just gave him his powers again in the first place. I don't know. Doc Ock drowned and Green Goblin was buried in a cemetery with a funeral, and they're back, so anything's possible. Now we're gonna come back to No Way Home in just a second, but first I have to talk about another universe just to get it out of the way, which is the hard Venom. It's Venom. I couldn't come up with anything clever. Deal with it. It's Venom. So Venom is unique in that it is the only Spider-Man universe movie that does not feature Spider-Man at all, meaning that we don't really know where it lands here, so we're gonna have to take some guesses. Going off of the two Venom movies alone, it would appear as though they just exist in their own self-contained universe. But spoilers for Let There Be Carnage! It's been out for like 3 months and it's on Amazon Prime. If you were gonna see it, you've already watched it. At the end of the movie, Venom is somehow transported into the MCU with Tom Holland's Spider-Man directly appearing on the screen. Interesting things about this universe. Eddie Brock lives in San Francisco but still works for the Daily Bugle, implying that the Bugle is a much more nationally known news outlet rather than just being local to New York City. Also, the logo for the Daily Bugle is the same one used in the Tobey Maguire movies. This is normally where I'd launch into some big explanation. No, I think they just reused the logo. And that's more or less it for Venom. I just want to come in and establish that Venom is here and just kind of move on. So now we can go back to the Tom. But that's not it for Venom. Okay, listen. There was a movie that I said I wasn't going to talk about or mention, but I think in order to really make this complete, or at least be honest with all of you, I should at least talk about it a little bit. To quote David Hewson, not to be confused with Paul David Hewson, aka Bono, who also did some of the music for Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, the musical. That's unrelated though. What must be done, must be done. No matter the price, the cost, the pain. We must all one day walk through fire. And my fire is Morbius. See, the fun thing about Morbius is that it ruins everything. All this is bullshit because Morbius exists. This movie, which is not even out yet, changes the mapping so significantly that I'm not even sure these are separate universes anymore. You know what? Screw it. You know, I mean, what it doesn't matter. None of this matters. Who cares about continuity or making Truman feel safe? Let's connect everything. Let's do it. Let's just connect all the things. Come on, because it doesn't matter clearly, so let's just do it. In Spider-Man 1, Aunt May tells Peter that he's not Superman, you know? So that means the Tobey movies are canon to the DCEU. Pigs theoretically exist in all of these universes, so Spider-Ham is in all of them. He's in all of them. He's in every single one. Spectacular Spider-Man borrows a lot of origin elements from the Tobey Maguire movies, so the two Tobey Maguire movies and Spectacular Spider-Man are in the same universe. Don't ask me to explain it, they just are. In the 90s, there was an episode of the animated series that was like a multiverse thing, where there was a Spider-Man who did not have powers and he was an actor just portraying Spider-Man, so that's a direct link to the real world. There's an episode of Ultimate Spider-Man that is a crossover with Jesse, so that means that technically, Jesse takes place in an alternate universe to the 2004 Punisher movie. I'm sorry. That one, oh God. I'm sorry. I worked really hard on this whole thing, you know, and just Morbius comes through and just throws it all away. There are only 2 trailers for Morbius as of this video being uploaded, but they suggest such radical changes to the Sony Spider-Verse that this video is practically useless. Like, I don't even know if I should continue making this video because all of the information in it is gonna be outdated, like, pretty soon. Let me show you what I mean. First, going off the second trailer and the way that Venom and the events of Venom are directly referenced, we can confirm that Morbius and Venom both take place in the same world. So wherever Morbius lands, Venom will land there too. Second, this image, which we know comes from the Morbius set, confirms 2 things. One, that the movie predominantly takes place in New York City, and more importantly, that in both Morbius and by proxy Venom, Spider-Man does exist. Luckily, at one point in both trailers, Morbius walks by some graffiti of Spider-Man, so all we have to do is take a look at that graffiti and see which Spider-Man it looks the most like so we can Guys, what the hell? This single frame changes everything about the Sony Spider-Verse. Because this shot takes place in the Venom-verse. Why didn't I think of that? Because this shot takes place in the Venom-verse, unless there are just two guys named Eddie Brock who just happen to both become Venom, it implies that Spider-Man 3 does not exist. And it doesn't stop there. There are multiple pieces of evidence that can clue us in as to what Spider-Man universe Morbius takes place in. But the problem is that all of the pieces of evidence suggest that it takes place in all three of them at the same time. The two biggest things are, one, the Tobey Maguire suit being shown in that one shot, and Michael Keaton, presumably playing Adrian Toomes, aka the Vulture, being present in both trailers. Now, let's talk realistically here. Chances are Michael Keaton is just playing the Vulture again, kind of like how J.K. Simmons is playing J. Jonah Jameson again. Because if you had Michael Keaton, you're gonna use him. You're not just gonna cast someone else in the role just because. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I take it back, Michael. Please don't hurt me. The Tobey suit is a little harder to brush away, though. At first, I thought that it was just like a placeholder put in post, and that easily could be what it is, but its presence in both trailers is a little bit harder to just kind of sweep away. This kind of thing is very easy to change in post, especially with a really big budget movie like this, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens, which, again, makes this whole video for naught. Now, there are two more things that I personally think place Morbius definitively on this map. The first one is going to be this Daily Bugle newspaper, which a lot of people pointed out mentions Rhino and Black Cat. And a lot of people thought that that meant that it took place in the world of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. But also, those are just like Spider-Man characters. Like, I mean, it could be them, but like, there's a lot of rhinos and black cats, so I don't know, it could be a different one. However, in this landscape shot here, there is an Oscorp building present, which shouldn't be too much to write home about. However, the lettering on the building is the exact same as the one in The Amazing Spider-Man. Also, I forgot about this when I was filming, but in this shot in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, this screen says Venom storage like a couple times, and that could really be anything, but there's also one that says Dr. Morbius file, and I feel like that one's a little bit more direct. In my opinion, the Oscorp building, in conjunction with the newspaper, definitively puts Morbius and Venom in the universe of The Amazing Spider-Man. But we still don't know yet, and we're just gonna have to wait to find out. In an attempt to make this video age at least a little bit well, I have come up with 5 different multiverse possibilities for Morbius and Venom. Number 1, the one I believe the most, it takes place in the Andrew area. Number 2, it takes place in the Tobey timeline, but with Spider-Man 3 retconned into not existing. Number 3, it takes place in the MCU. Somehow. Number 4, it's in its own self-contained universe with its own unique Spider-Man. Or number 5, it really does take place in all 3 universes at the same time. This theory suggests that at the end of No Way Home, there will be some kind of cataclysmic event that will merge all 3 Spider-Man universes into one to create a one giant mega universe with all the characters and people from those universes converging into one universe. This theory is stupid, and I feel safe saying that it definitely won't happen. That's pretty much the whole map. See? Simple. But what was even the point of doing this? I mean, No Way Home comes out in like, what, a week? And that's absolutely going to change things for this mapping. Morbius definitely will. So I've created a final product that is going to be completely useless within a matter of 7 days. But maybe that's not that bad. I mean, yeah, this whole thing is going to need to be updated within a very short amount of time, but I don't think that's the point of this video. We may have ended with a soon-to-be inaccurate product, but we had fun doing it, right? I love talking about Spider-Man. I would talk about Spider-Man all day if I could. Trust me, I would. What matters is that we enjoyed our time. I'm putting this in the video because I know there are gonna be people in the comments who are gonna say, oh, well, I can't believe you missed this, or oh, well, this didn't age well. That wasn't the point of the video. The point of the video was for me to objectively waste my time and see if maybe some people would like to watch me do that. I'm also putting it in because I couldn't think of an end to that segment. Now that we're towards the end of the video and we've kind of had this fun, friendly environment going for a little bit here, I thought now would be a good time to sort of just do some predictions for No Way Home. You know, just kind of guess what's gonna be in there, you know, have fun doing that. And just kidding, this isn't the prediction segment. This is where I yell at you, the viewer. Listen, guys, I am just as excited for No Way Home as you are. I made this entire video because I'm excited for No Way Home. It's the only thing I have been able to think or tweet about for the past month and a half. But some people need to tone down their expectations just a little bit, or a lot. Let me show you what I mean. Walk with me. We didn't actually go anywhere, the camera stayed perfectly still. This is a graphic. This is what I call Truman's hype graph. As you can see, as time goes by and hype begins to increase, so do expectations. They begin to build and build and build and build until finally the movie or video game or whatever it is actually releases. Now right here is what I call the feasibility line. This line indicates literally the best the piece of media could possibly be. If your expectations for a thing are at this line, you are expecting whatever it is to be quite literally perfect. Now, as you can see, the expectations actually grow past this line. Far past this line. Let's really quick take a look at No Way Home on this graph. Wow. That's a lot of hype. The expectations for No Way Home have become so comically ginormous that there is no possible way that it will ever live up to them. I saw a guy on Twitter talk about how excited he was that Green Goblin was going to be the main villain of the movie. We have no proof that that is to be the case, but that guy's expecting that to happen, and if he goes into the movie and it doesn't happen, he's gonna be really disappointed. There's a supposed leak that says that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will have 30 minutes of shared screen time between them, which is the exact same amount as Captain America and Iron Man in Civil War. So it's a lot. And again, we have nothing that would prove that to be true, but a ton of people are gonna go into the movie expecting that to happen, and if it doesn't, are not gonna be happy. Tobey Maguire is not gonna come out of a portal, say pizza time, and then do the dance from Spider-Man 3, which I wish I was making up, but is a real thing I saw someone on Reddit say they wanted to happen. Everyone needs to calm down their expectations a little bit. Tom Holland, John Watts, the director of the movie, and even Andrew Garfield have all told people to temper their hype. Here is what you should expect going into No Way Home. A Tom Holland Spider-Man movie where he fights villains from previous films. That is it. And if Tobey and Andrew are in the movie, which they might be, but we have not gotten that confirmed yet, they will more than likely not be major supporting characters and will just come in towards the end of the movie. But even them being in the climax, I would not bet on. And I could be wrong. All of this could be wrong. They could be in the first frame of the film. But also, no one knows if that's true, so we should just go off of what we have officially been told and expect that. Because if we all go in expecting to see Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield throughout the whole movie and see them save the day and be these central characters, and then they aren't, everyone's gonna be pissed. Because the internet does what the internet does best, and gets angry at things. But that doesn't mean I think the movie's gonna be bad. I think the movie's gonna be great. And I think there are plenty of things that we know are gonna happen that we can absolutely expect and get excited for. We can expect to see a redeemed Doc Ock joining the side of Spider-Man, a chance for Jamie Foxx's Electro to really shine, the return of the Green Goblin. That all sounds pretty cool to me. I'd be happy with that. So in summary, go into the movie expecting just what you have seen in official trailers and stuff, and I'm sure that you will have a great time. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna keep making more fun videos like this. If you guys have an idea for a video that I can make, please let me know. I might be disabling comments on this one particularly because it's about a movie that I really don't want to get spoiled, and you know how the internet is. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. No, I was doing that in post. No, I'm gonna walk away. See you guys.